Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma, and sharing with you some thoughts on God's Word. Having a great cup of coffee this morning. Hope you had a great weekend. It was a very good weekend for me. My son and I got to go to a swap meet, automotive swap meet, picked up a few parts and what have you. Always looking for parts, for my old Mustangs that I love to restore. Anyway, we are talking about the already but the not yet of biblical eschatology, which means that in the New Testament, both Jesus and his apostles spoke of things as if they were already in existence, or as if they were already done, then turned around and spoke of those things as if they were being done, and then spoke of those things as if they were in the future. So this is not only a fascinating study, obviously, but it's extremely critical, because an awful lot of people get confused and say, well, look, back here he said it was done, therefore it must have been done, so anything that has to do with the future reference must be of a different nature. No, it just simply means there was a process that was taking place over a period of time. Something had been initiated and was awaiting consummation. Now, to me, one of the very best illustrations of this is the imagery of the temple of God. This is one of the most fascinating topics. It's one of the most eschatologically significant topics, because you see, in the Old Testament, the predictions of the Messianic Temple were that God's Messianic Temple would be established at the time of the resurrection in the last days, that salvation would flow from that temple, the new covenant would flow from that temple to all of the world. So, virtually everything that you and I would normally associate with salvation, i.e. soteriology, is linked with the temple of God. Isaiah chapter 2, the mount of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains. Well, the mountain of the Lord's house is the Messianic Temple. Pardon me. Every depiction that we have of the establishment and the glorification of the mountain of God is a reference to the, quote, Temple Mount. And thus, in Isaiah chapter 25, pardon me, the Lord said, I will establish on this mountain, that's the Temple Mountain, the Messianic Temple, a feast of fine things, a feast of wines on the lees. And what did God say that he would do in that day? Why, he said he would destroy death. So, once again, temple, resurrection go hand in hand. Therefore, if the temple, Messianic Temple, was, quote, under construction in the New Testament times, then it meant that resurrection, which we have already examined, was likewise either in process or very imminent. Let me reiterate. Temple and resurrection go hand in hand. I will establish on this mountain a great feast. I will destroy death. There is no 2,000-year, so far, gap between Messianic Temple and resurrection. Temple and resurrection go together. Why is that? It is because temple represented presence of God. Presence of God equals life, going back to the garden, you see. Man, fellowship with God in the garden. The threat, In the day you eat, you will surely die. They sinned, they were cast out of the garden. They died that day. But you see, the temple, according to all rabbinic literature, was a type, a foreshadowing of the temple. And most assuredly, the temple represented the presence of God and life. If you were cut off from the temple, you were dead. So once again, the establishment of the Messianic Temple, resurrection went hand in hand. As we will see in our very next segment, the New Testament writers are absolutely clear, unequivocal, and explicit in teaching us that the Messianic Temple was under construction in the first century. By the way, at the last Preterist Pilgrim Weekend, the entire Preterist Pilgrim Weekend was the tabernacle of God is with man. The MP3s and the DVDs of that entire conference are now available to you. You can go to my websites, order those MP3s or DVDs. You will see some fantastic lessons. David Curtis gave one of the best lessons on Romans chapter 8 that you will ever hear. William Bell gave some incredible lessons on the Messianic Millennial Temple. There were just some wonderful lessons. You really need to listen to Rod MacArthur's lessons on the Temple of God. So, go to my website, www.eschatology.org, BibleProphecy.com, or DonKPreston.com. Order the Preterist Pilgrim Weekend 2013 on the Temple of God is with Man. Mention that you saw the offer on YouTube or Facebook, and I will pay your shipping. All right? Hey, we have more on the Temple of God and resurrection on the flip side. So we'll see you tomorrow, Lord willing.